you! I heard you're crying out for a new VPN. Is that correct? Well, I have the perfect companion to protect and provide for you while you're surfing the netto. That's right, it's Surfshark! So why make the switch? Well, I will tell you. Not the best. With Surfshark, there's no need to count the devices. You just set up one account and you're all good to go on unlimited devices. You also get a truly global server selection. Surfshark offers more than 3,200 different servers and over 100 locations. Gorgeous! Surfshark also gives you a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can take your time to try out the service. And you'll be saying, oh dear God, when you find out Surfshark also has 24/7 customer support. What's more, Surfshark has antivirus protection, so marine no more worries about security, plus alternative ID features and data breach alerts. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you want to switch VPN, you should try Surfshark. And if you want 4 months extra for free, use my code TDK from the link in the description, and I promise I'll stop with these awful puns. Thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring The Different Knock. Welcome back to Arsenal women eclipsing Spurs' entire trophy cabinet only 72 hours after they thought they did something. Is it? It is the history of the Tottenham. It's finally over. The 24-25 season drew to a close with a scintillating 2-1 win over Southampton last Sunday. And I'd love to spend the next 20 minutes or so dissecting the usage of the spaces in between the left back and the left centre. Shut up. Transfers! Because PGMOL finally proved they have a corrupt anti-Arsenal agenda by costing Aston Villa the Champions League, Isak and Prey is off the table this summer. So we need a big old chat about positions, priorities, and how we approach this window in general. I'll be giving suggestions of players I like and my first pick in every single position, but also asking what I hope are some decent questions as we go, some of which I don't pretend to have the answer to. For me, it's always about the why with transfers. I don't know about you, but I often watch this type of transfer content going, yeah, okay, nice player, but why? And I hope we can at least gain some clarity on the problems we're trying to fix at Arsenal, even if you disagree with the solutions or players that I put forward. For the purposes of this, I'm going to assume Zubimendi is done. It's not confirmed, but we have had a here we go. So one big need, a tempo-controlling 6'8", who will change how we look centrally, has arrived. That was a big priority for me. This isn't a Jorginho replacement. This is an upgrade, and I'm very excited. We'll discuss it at some point. But I think there's now 7 more squad slots we can look at before market opportunities or surprises to go up a level. Obviously, 8 total incomings is unlikely, and I don't think they'll all happen. But we'll discuss them and rank them by order of priority on this beautiful graphic made by my glamorous assistant, William. Say hi, Will.
Hi, Will.
Enough waffle. Let's begin with the goalies. No need to reinvent the wheel. David Raya has been excellent this season. There's been moments, but he is only the 4th goalkeeper in Premier League history to win consecutive Golden Glove awards, so let's not make a problem where there isn't one. What I think Raya needs now is a challenge. It feels like he's found more of a voice within the group this year, certainly publicly, and cemented his place. But in any good squad, there needs to be competition. Another permanent, under 30 but not a child, goalkeeper to push him and keep him mentally and physically sharp is important going into next season. There's been a lot of talk about Joan Garcia from Espanyol, whose release clause remains, reportedly, around £21 million. From what I've seen, that is crazy value. And of course, we'll have a look. Similar proactivity off his line to Raya, similar quality on the ball, but with an added presence and penchant for the spectacular that arguably Raya lacks. Although I do think some of that is aesthetic bias. Garcia's taller, a bit more athletic. Honestly, probably a higher ceiling right now. The question is always translation, but the early signs are very, very good. And at 24, I think he will be a number 1 for a big, big club. However, Garcia, especially after this season, wouldn't be happy to come in and sit in his tracksuit for 50 plus games. So, and with potentially so much to do this summer, Arsenal have a bit of a dilemma here, I think. As always, it comes back to why. Risk. Is there a chance that a Garcia-type signing potentially unsettles David Raya and disturbs what is already working? Back fives and defensive units, Arsenal's the best in the league this season, are so much based off relationships, confidence, chemistry, continuity. So would a signing of Garcia's calibre and intent challenge that harmony beyond what we need right now, specifically? Does Raya need to be cemented for 25-26 or pushed further? We might potentially get a few percentages better, but we might not. But there's also potential reward. Could this signing push Raya and the goalkeeping group as a whole to the next level? Garcia finds his place, at least for a year, as a cup goalkeeper. Everyone goes home happy because Arsenal don't miss out on the next big thing for a cup price and a sharper, better first choice. Could we even foresee another Raya situation where we change our goalkeeper and we get better? Ultimately, that's what we want to do in every department. I genuinely don't have an answer for this, so let me know what you think in the comments. Regardless, you do suspect after some relegation-threatened heroics, and with other clubs like Aston Villa and Manchester divided, probably looking for a first-choice goalkeeper this summer, the decision may be taken out of our hands. My other option is Marcin Bulka, OGC Nice's Polish goalkeeper. He's 25, 6'6", ex-Chelsea and PSG, and a bit more commanding than Raya as a box presence, although maybe less able as an auxiliary centre-back than Raya. He claims crosses in a very domineering way, also very good on the ball off both feet. He has this sort of presence when you watch him, this very intense glare. And the pedigree of Polish goalkeepers is pretty good. Crucially, though, he has 1 year left on the deal. And in order not to spend big portions of the budget on something that doesn't really move the needle that much on the pitch, but is still needed, that might be the way. Other names include Justin Bieler at Feyenoord, maybe Lunin at Madrid, Hermansen from Leicester had a blinder against us and might be keen to stay in the league. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it. With no internal solutions that are ready in my view, the second goalkeeper goes in at priority number 5. Important to get done, very important, please don't get me wrong, but whoever we get, for me, is not going to be the pivotal difference between winning the Premier League or the Champions League, in my view. And maybe that answers the earlier question about Garcia. Next, the defensive group. I'm assuming Tierney and Zinchenko are gone, both of which I'm okay with, and we'll discuss Kiwior and Tomiyasu in a minute, which leaves Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Miles, Timber and White as a core group that I don't want to touch. And that is as special as they come. Get Saliba and Gabriel's contracts sorted, and if Calafiori and Ben White can stay fit after a summer of rest, which, having listened to Mikel's recent comments about them, it sounds like they both desperately need, we're in a really good place here. We're not doing any major surgery on the defensive group. To me, the more fringe defensive situations define our work on the incomings. So first, let's talk Kiwior. Here's my position. If Sepp van den Berg, with no Premier League or Champions League appearances to his name for Liverpool, is going to Brentford for £25 million last summer, I'm sorry, I'm demanding a lot more for Kiwior, who still has 3 years remaining on his deal. You just aren't going to find many third, fourth choice defenders who play 3 positions across the back line and have proven, not in theory, they can hold their own against the best. We can have all the conversations about selling when he has value that we want. And to be clear, I'm not saying I wouldn't do that. There is a price I would sell at. But proven, established, reliable depth, don't just give that away for free. So miss me with those £20 million bids, especially when we're still waiting to see on Calafiori's fitness and we're waiting on this man. Okay. I, as Alex, the soft Arsenal lover from Bournemouth, I want Tomiyasu to be given time. Based on the statement earlier this year, he is looking to be back by the end of the year, and I think we could probably get through till then with the 7 mentioned, plus maybe even another. That's 8 defenders. I know it's Arsenal, but surely that's enough. But then we come to a different question, and one I've asked before. Should we? I would, but I'm an idiot. What would Real Madrid do with him? What would Bayern Munich do? What would Man City do? The guy has missed over 100 games for Arsenal since being here. How much longer can we say, just wait for him, while Ben White's hamstrings ping, Saliba plays 90 after 90, and Mr. off the back of an ACL is in the red zone every week? I have to be fair. If we want to be beating these sides regularly in Europe, we kind of have to be as ruthless as they are with talent. For Martinelli, I'm telling everyone, leave your attachments at the door. So it's only fair with a player that I'm attached to that I'm consistent. We can't sell him, but I really doubt those clubs mentioned would be relying on him for next year, is my point. We probably, as much as it hurts, need to be in a position where if he is fit, great, but we're not relying on him. I think the recent links to Dean Huijsen tell you what direction the club are moving in, and maybe that's right. My compromise for Tomiyasu is a right back or right centre back prospect. Maybe even a loan with a buy option, something like that. An 18 to 21-year-old who you don't have to put crazy money into, but there's definitely sell-on value, and he's not expected to start every minute. You don't leave yourself short, but you don't put down a crazy fee on something you might not need. A name I was put onto recently is Giancarlo Simic at Anderlecht. 20 years old, 6'1", right centre-back and right-back versatility, very proactive, nice, athletic, low-socked frame, full Serbian international. Made his debut against Real Madrid a few years back. That is very worth the watch, having come through at AC Milan. He might be a touch slow, but we don't need Ben White, and he's pretty progressive in his numbers. I think he'd be cheap, and I think we could sell him if he didn't work. This is so incredibly niche, but he defends a bit like Joe Lewis at AFC Wimbledon. If you know, you know. Other more expensive names I've seen mentioned are Mosquera at Wolves, Hector Fort at Barca looked good in the Champions League semis, but I doubt they'd sell, and Joel Ordóñez at Club Brugge. Probably the club would surprise me with this pick if they went down this route, and if a market opportunity comes up, or we go full Madrid mode this summer, then maybe we go bigger. And secondly, I would love the club to look at an overlapping left fullback. If they did, bigger names are obviously Anthony Robinson, even Pervis Estupiñán, whose hype has gone down a touch. But I've long been a fan of Maxime de Kuiper at Club Brugge. Excellent creative passer, truly, really good vision, and a strong defender. Really reliable, stamina, fit, intelligent, quick on the overlap and off the mark like a Ben White. Good height, Champions League experience, probably wouldn't be too crazy price and wage-wise. Good option. But I've thought about this a little bit. It's all very well saying we need this and this and this and this, but we have to prioritize. Everyone wants Miles Lewis-Skelly in the team. Left back is his current slot. So if Calafiori can stay fit and we keep Kivior, could we get through without it? We do need that overlap. I'm not saying we don't. Please don't get me wrong. But to get a proper first team left fullback who isn't just Mr. whipping across and a total defensive liability otherwise, we'd have to be looking at a proper signing. Tens of millions of pounds. It's a big outlay. And can we get the outcome without doing that? I would rather just ask Calafiori or Miles or a new winger to do what we need, because I think this is far more about instruction than personnel. If we're just signing that to deliver one specific tactical thing, can we get there in cheaper, less opportunity cost-based ways? For me, if we get a massive offer for Kivior, maybe you go and find your left-sided Ben White. But if not, maybe you can get through. Annoyingly, someone who would have been great for this, Nuno Tavares. All in all, I think we could get to January with this defensive group. We could. So those two signings go in at priorities number 6 and 7. But the bigger question is this. Is getting through acceptable for Arsenal anymore? Is that who we want to be? Next, midfielders. The Athletic recently published a great article on tactical trends in the Premier League. In it, they compared 24-25 to just 6 seasons ago and found that overall running distance is up just over 6% in the Premier League. Players are sprinting 19% more often and 22% further. But not only that, despite possible reputation, the Premier League is now the most counter-attacking of Europe's major leagues. It had been trending in this direction anyway, but we hit new heights in 24-25 with 513 fast break shots and 112 goals from those situations. Combine that with the data we were talking about in the last video about football as a whole, and it's clear where the sport is headed, at least for now. More intensity and more running. Teams like Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford, and so on are making up the quality gap by trying to outrun you. And it's working. You could say they're very well run. Now, we need to be careful how we respond to that, especially in the midfield, where a lot of that running will be soaked up. Every group needs balance, and I'm conscious of filling this Arsenal team with large space brutes who just run and run and run and run, because in the end, you just create another problem. We have access to the top level technical talents like Zubimendi. We try and control the football. We got pretty close to winning the Field Tilt World Championships this season, guys. So as much as I'd like to see us improve our running, there's a cap on how far that goes. We just need to ensure that, when called upon, our squad can deal with the way the league is trending. And so, I ask you this, especially at the base of our midfield. As we sit here today, is Rice, Zubimendi, who isn't confirmed, a soon-to-be 32-year-old Thomas Partey, who I think is physically declining, and Mikel Merino, filling you with hope to deal with a league trending that way? For me, no. So I'm looking at another midfielder on top of Zubimendi, who's a 6'8", who can really run. And that goes in at 4th on my priority list. We maybe could do without it. Maybe. Kai drops more in there or Miles steps up. But in this position, with the way things are trending, I really don't want to just get by here. And if Thomas Partey leaves, it goes even higher up my list. Some names: Villa with no Champions League need to sell because of their wage situation, and there might be some water testing for the likes of Onana, Tielemans, Kamara, even a Morgan Rogers, if we see if he can drop in a little bit more, which I think he could. On the Cannon podcast, we recently had a look at Lucien Agume, who I think is a great option at Sevilla, and I really like Joe Bellingham a lot, though he may not be ready. But in my view, Leslie Ugochukwu should be a serious option. I thought he was the standout against us the other week for them, head and shoulders above the others. Literally, he's 6'3". He's not getting in that Chelsea team over Caicedo and Enzo, but he has legs for days. Premier League experience, he reads the game superbly. He's 21, he still put up some impressive numbers in a horrible Southampton side, and he wouldn't be too much, I don't think. He wouldn't play every minute because we don't need him to, but he'd play. If Partey does leave, we might need to go bigger. But for now, let's consider him, eh? I'm trying to keep up the retention here. Leave me alone. Put it this way. In a league with Gravenberch and Caicedo and Bruno Guimaraes and more, I don't want our single point of failure to be Declan Rice. In terms of 8-10s, for me, with Havertz, Waneri, Ødegaard, Vieira returning, Rice and Marino able to play there, Miles even, Trossard, Saka I think has a future there, Daumann on his way. I think we have enough options, even if I have questions for the future. Mikel himself has mentioned we need more creativity, and we do. So some people I think will have this particular pick way higher on their list. And fair enough. But for me, more creativity can come from many different places. Different forwards, a different mentality, putting the ball at risk more running, less defend first mindset, and so much more, rather than necessarily one really big, expensive maverick signing like a Eze, for example. I'm not against that long term. I just think Ødegaard needs another season, and we need better attackers before we judge. And to go to that next step, you're looking at hundreds of millions of pounds to sign a maverick to the level I would want. You're looking at the Musialas of this world. And we just can't do that, in my opinion, this summer and get everything else done. Maybe you do a prospect signing or a loan. If Vieira doesn't hit the ground running or is sold, maybe we get an injury, then maybe you need something. Someone like an El Khanous could be cheaper, but honestly, I'm not really considering it massively unless things change. If we need to go bigger, if we can get him, Alex Bainer has really caught my eye. Very smart in build-up, making intelligent blindside runs. One of those pops up when you least expect it type players. Okay, finally, we come to it. Forwards! I've dedicated the least time to talking about this, partly because this video is already too long, partly because we've spent all year talking about it, and partly because we're going to talk about it for the rest of summer. But order and time don't equal priority, and 2 new forwards go in at number 1 and number 3, in my opinion. I'm going to assume Reece departs, and I'm going to pray Sterling departs. So that means Arsenal's current forward group is Saka, Havertz, Martinelli, Trossard, and Jesus. That leaves Arsenal, especially without Jesus until later in the season, short on numbers, even before potential sales, but crucially, so many qualities in our attacking group as a whole. We're so one-dimensional. We lack pace outside of Martinelli, quality ball striking, especially from an individual who can play off both feet, top quality finishing in general. Arsenal have only one player who's in the top 25 overperformers for XG in the league, Waneri, who I don't even think of as a winger. We lack transition and high turnover threats, covered extensively on the channel, I won't bore you again. We lack height, one forward in Kai Havertz, comfortably over 6 foot, 1v1 capacity, especially out wide. We don't have a single player in the top 25 dribbles completed in the Premier League. Am I scaring you yet? Variety of goals, poaching in the box, headers, outside the box, and more. That kind of undefinable maverick quality or the ability to change games, to punish teams, sniff goals, the get out my way grandma, I'm pushing you over to score gene, and probably even more. Maybe you could throw caveats in there. Yeah, but if Saka wasn't injured, if we platform Martinelli, look at our XG, we're 7th in the league. Yeah, and there are things we do have. But it's frightening how much we don't, in my opinion. Arsenal need, number 1 priority, a world-class forward. One at least. I think, to be honest, we probably need another, but it might have to be more of a prospecty type forward because of budget. To me, it would make the most sense to do a number 9 and a wide player, but I don't want to get too attached to positions. I actually think, looking at the striker market, there is a world, do not shoot me, I'm the messenger, where we don't sign a 9 and we sign 2 wide players with 9 versatility. I think optically that looks terrible, even if that's the right call, and I don't want that. I'm just saying I can see a world where that happens. I would be degrees of happy with various combinations of various players that I could lay out, but forget the word salad. Let me get off the fence. My preference is a combination of Rodrigo from Madrid and Benjamin Sesko from Leipzig. Rodrigo. We did a full scouted episode on him on the Canon podcast, so for more in-depth thoughts, head over there. But we go back to the why. Rodrigo, other than height and a couple of other things, ticks so many of the things we don't have, and is a win now, experienced superstar to boot. If he's available, you do it. If he's available for £80 million, you do it tomorrow. He has incredible technique. Honestly, the ability to do anything he wants with the football, something we massively lack. This Arsenal team lacks technicians, magicians, and his close control and incredibly short backlift is magical. He has an incredible work rate off the ball, superb dribbler, shots from outside the box. He's got that 1v1 capacity. He's got that pace. He's got that ball striking. He's got that top-class finishing. And he's a stallion who runs and runs and runs. He's probably a touch lightweight shoulder to shoulder. He's not going to score us 30 goals. But to me, that's not really what I'm after. I don't look at our shortfall in goals as a team and go, oh, I need a 30-goal a season striker. What I want is 5 more goals from Martinelli, 5 more from Saka, 5 more from Havertz, 5 more from Jesus, plus Rodrigo and Sesko, and then we're in a good place. Rodrigo could be the rising tide that lifts all boats. His creative passing is truly incredible. I could even see a 15 to 20 assist season. You can probably tell I've fallen in love. He would give us that spark, that lift we desperately need, and one of the forward signings needs to give us. A proper superstar choosing us. The message it sends is so, so big. Right now, it feels like a dream, so maybe a Nico Williams would make a bit more pragmatic sense, especially for what our left wing role is right now and what he's good at. But Rodrigo is the sort of guy you change your team and your plans for. And then there's Sesko. I hope I get to make a whole video on him at some point if the links get stronger. Because in short, he is the best centre-forward prospect on the market. Many people within the game think he will be the best 9 in the world at some point because of his fundamentals. And again, going back to the why, he has things that we simply do not have. Hang time as an aerial threat, that maverick streak, the ball striking off both feet from outside the box and in the box, pace, height. Go through that list I gave earlier. He has so many of those things. He's not ready to be the guy. He struggles a bit under contact. I think his decision-making is a bit muddy. But give him 6 months in training with Gabriel and Saliba, and we'll start to see him. And the reason I love that pairing is it's great from every angle. It sends a message. It's a proper 9 and a proper winger. It's win now and win in the future. It solves our specific issues. Physicality and technique. Experience and youth. Fresh energy and some know-how. Belief and help for others, and individual numbers too. It allows Sesko to grow into what he can be, but putting the superstar pressure on the guy who can handle it, while both of them show the out-of-possession qualities that Mikel will be after. For me, it has everything as a pairing. We'll talk more about the forwards at some point, I'm sure, and I'm fascinated to see what we do. I just wanted to give my preference today. However we approach it, I just want us to focus on the why. No forward signing can come in and tick the same boxes we already have. We have ball to feet. We have retention. We have balls to the back post. Please, please, Arsenal, don't let me down. There it is then. The final list of priorities, how I would approach this summer. To be honest, this list could all change. Everything's symbiotic. If we sign Rodrigo, the left fullback goes up in priority, as I say. If we get Sesko, maybe the need for another 6'8" drops a touch because you get more of Havertz in midfield, and so on. Let me know what you think of that list, and let me know your list in the comments. But I'll leave you with this. Arsenal have left themselves in a bit of a predicament. This window is make or break. I don't want it to be. You probably don't want it to be. The club definitely don't want it to be. No one wants to be in that position. But for this project, it probably is. And that creates an incredibly tight rope to walk this summer. We have to work quickly, but work well. We have to keep an eye on the future and not give out silly contracts, but win now. Keep our established stars, but also add new ones. Work within a budget, but see how creative we can be. Stay alive to the market, but don't deviate too much. The perfect summer I can rattle off in a video and say, come on Arsenal, and get annoyed when they don't do it. It's not easy. None of this is easy. So we have to remain patient. Constantly panicking and chasing every link this summer won't help anyone, he says, telling himself. We have to judge it when it's over and give this new executive team time to stamp their authority. But after the messages coming out from the club, from what I hear, I think we've learned the lessons from the last 2 seasons. So I think we can afford to be a bit excited. Thanks so much for watching. If you like The Different Knock, you can support us on Patreon and get ad-free early access to each video for just £3 a month. Or for one-time support, you can buy us a coffee. Links are in the description.